Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our Friday Q&A. And lots happened in the past week, so we've got a load to talk about. We are now in stage 4 restrictions, and the government's changing their mind every 5 minutes about a variety of things, and everyone's probably, like us, a little bit confused about what this all means for business owners out there. So we're going to try and cover off some of the questions that we've been getting from our clients, and hopefully we can help you to navigate some of this shit show that we're in the midst of.
Yes. Been an epic week, hasn't it?
It has. I did a post on Facebook this morning about the fact that working in HR right now is like trying to walk around blindfolded with your pants down, essentially. Just like, it's really, really difficult. And I feel like everything that we learn, which is a lot, we now have to relearn again, and so do business owners. Like, it's really quite stressful.
Yeah, it's been the changes, especially this week in Victoria, they've been really thick and fast. Firstly with what businesses are allowed to operate, who are these, permitted workers, and who can access childcare. That's been a really big thing. So
Yeah.
I know for me personally, a week ago, I was like, oh, this lockdown's not going to be too bad. Like, my kids are both in childcare. Moving to this week, it's been really rapid, the changes, that you need to issue permits for your workers, even if they're working from home, but only if you're in a permitted industry. So that's been really tricky to navigate as well. Both for employers and also employees don't know what's going on either. So where do they turn to? How do you get the answers? The government have been kind of trying to get the information out, but it's been changing every day.
It has. So I guess the $1 million question is, and a lot of businesses are struggling with this at the moment, who are permitted workers? Because the fine for giving somebody a permit and it not being within the guidelines, I believe it's like $100,000 fine. Is that right?
Yeah, it's $100,000 fine for employers. It's a $10,000 fine for employees. And I think, I understand that the concept behind this is just so that people don't try and exploit the system, but you really need to know what you're doing, and whether you are a permitted industry and a permitted work site. So there has been 2 different documents that have come out. The first one was on Monday, when the announcement, or Sunday night, when the announcement was first made that Melbourne's going into stage 4 restrictions. But then 2 days ago, there was a supplementary list for permitted work sites. So that provides a lot more clarity around who. So to be a permitted worker, you have to work in one of those permitted industries and one of those permitted work sites. And you can be a permitted worker if your site is open and you're working from home. So say you work in a hospital or a lab or something that's testing for COVID, but you can do your work from home. Say you work in IT, but you're working for one of these industries and your work site is open, you're a permitted worker, even if you're a permitted worker at home, because there are permitted workers at home and then permitted workers who are working on site. And the reason why there's 2 different there's 2 different kind of categories for this is that permitted workers who are working from home, if both parents are permitted workers, then they're able to access childcare. If both parents are not a permitted worker, and you're working from home, then you have no access to childcare. So let's say one works for a hospital and one works for a government industry, like say the DHHS or something, and they're both able to work from home, but they're both permitted workers, they would have access to childcare, which is another it's another form under that permitted worker scheme. So that's available on the Department of Justice website.
Okay. So it's very confusing, and it's very confusing for businesses. So if a business does have a question about whether or not they have these permitted workers, then they should be issuing these permits, because I read that if you are a permitted worker that's working from home, you still need this permitted worker permit to go and get your kids from drop them off and pick them up from childcare. Is that right?
Yeah. So there's two different permits. Okay, and the information around childcare has literally changed daily. We have a client in childcare, and we've been trying to, access the most up-to-date information. I have my kids at two different centres, and the information that's been coming has changed every single day, because even the Department of Education is to keep up with it. At the moment, there are two forms. One is the permitted worker form, and the permitted worker permit form, and that's for if you're working on site. And that is there's the permitted worker permit form has an extra section if you need to access childcare. You tick that little box, and they're for workers that have to go to work. And on that form, you need to fill out the days and times that the employee is going to work, right?
Yeah.
For the employees that are working from home, it's a different form, and the form is a access to childcare form for a permitted worker, but it won't allow them to be able to drive all over Melbourne. So it just gives them that access to childcare.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, my husband is a carpenter, and so initially they were told they do residential construction, that they were still allowed to, they were permitted workers, they were still allowed to operate, but they were only allowed to have a maximum 5 people on site, and each employee could only attend one site for the whole 6 weeks. So that's what initially came out. It's now changed again. And so they can visit a maximum of 3 sites per week now.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, this shit is like, seriously, you could not like.
Yeah. You sent me a great article yesterday that I shared with another client it was in The Age, and it just said how confusing it is. Like, we've got this 4-column spreadsheet, that you can work here, but you maybe can work there, and you can't work there. And when the penalties are so significant, you don't want to stuff it up, right? So I think, it's pretty confusing. It's changing daily. I think it'd be really great. Let's put the links to those 2 lists here on our page that people can access it. And I think if we link it to the live website, if there are any changes to that list, then it should technically be updated. The other thing, I do have a friend of mine that's working for the DHHS, and her hot tip was to, if you can't get through, because a lot of people can't get through to the hotlines, they're getting told, we'll call you back, or they're getting hung up on, like those lines are getting slammed. And her recommendation was to go on their DHHS Twitter feed, where you can get more live and faster answers to some queries.
Okay, that's great advice. Yeah, there we go. They've got people sitting on social media, but they don't have people to talk to people. Anyway, so that's kind of the permitted worker thing that we're now dealing with. I guess the latest hot off the press that's happened today is some announcements around JobKeeper. So, what's your take on that? What's the key takeaway?
So, Josh Frydenberg apparently announced this morning that what the changes are that because of the new shutdowns in Melbourne, the proof of a business downturn test is going to be waived for the July quarter. So they have extended JobKeeper till March, which was announced a couple of weeks ago. But there was going to be some tougher eligibility tests for businesses because a lot of businesses opened up again in that July quarter, you no longer have to prove that you've had a downturn in that July quarter. You'll have to prove you had a downturn in the September quarter and the December quarter. The other thing is, if you've hired employees from July, like they were hired with you by July 1st, they would now be eligible for JobKeeper because it was March the 1st for the first round. And the other thing that I've managed to find out is if you've got a business that has now been affected by the new shutdowns and is having a business downturn, they can apply for JobKeeper now, even if they didn't in the first round. So that's the changes as far as I understand. There are some fact sheets on the Treasury website.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're the new changes that have been announced. So it should hopefully make it a little bit more accessible for businesses. It will be at a reduced rate still, which is what they announced a couple of weeks ago. And then also,
so do you think that reduced rate, that they're going to change that for Victoria? Because surely they're going to need to change it for Victoria, because a lot of business owners will be like freaking out right now, going, holy shit, like I'm now in an even worse position and you're going to reduce it.
Look, I can't predict, like I at this stage they're still going to reduce it. The other thing is for employees who were doing less than 20 hours, so casuals and part-timers, it's going to be a lower rate. So I can't remember off the top of my head. I think it's going to be $650 a fortnight instead of the $1,200 that's for a full-timer. And that, I think part of that is that if they were doing less hours, why should they be getting the same as someone who's working full-time? And to me, it makes sense. There were a lot of employees that just said, you know what, I'm earning more on JobKeeper than I earned when I worked, so why would I go back to work?
Exactly. We did see quite a bit of that. So there's some tidbits there for everyone. We're going to be sending out an email today with a blog and some advice around that permitted worker scheme with some further detail, and we'll put some links on the page. But I think that next week will be even more interesting, because we'll probably have a lot more clarity and a bit more understanding about what the heck all of this means practically, because at the moment it's very theoretical and we don't really have anyone that we could ask. We can't go to Fair Work and say, well, can you please clarify whether this person's a permitted worker? So watch this space, stay strong, and we know that this is really difficult, but we're here to support you should you need it. We've also redeveloped our COVID-19 pack. So for everyone who's bought that, who's watching, we will be sending you a free update very shortly, probably next week. And for anybody who's looking for some support around managing COVID-19, the pack has a 26-page employer guide, although that's probably going to be about 30 pages now with all the additional bullshit we have to put in it. There's stand-down letters, like a lot of businesses are now having to stand people down. There is JobKeeper-enabled direction letters, a whole bunch of stuff that's going to help support you navigate this shitstorm.
Yeah, it's interesting times. Interesting, unprecedented times, right, Em?
Oh, God, stop saying that word. I'm so over it.
Has anything else happened this week? I think that's been the biggest.
I think that's the biggest two things. So someone's just posted a comment, our mate Jeff, who's always watching. Hi, Jeff. He said, hi, thanks for the info. Is July quarter July to September? I think so. July.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think so, Jeff. I think it's July, August, September quarter. Or, hang on, is the July quarter the previous quarter?
I think it's the previous quarter when we've been open, when we've reopened. So you were going to have to prove a business downturn for this current quarter, but now you don't have to prove it till end of September.
Yeah.
In that quarter.
For that quarter,
So for this time that we're shut down, you would need to prove that business downturn, which, theoretically should be easier to prove a downturn if you shut down now.
So he's just asked, you mentioned that it will not be tested.
The July quarter.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
July quarter. So,
But the September one will.
yeah, so
Yeah.
we were going to have to provide substantiation for that quarter, but now they're saying we don't need to.
Yeah.
Everyone who's already in it's going to get it.
Yeah.
Jeff, I can send you some other information about that. I received something from an accountant this morning. So if anyone has any other questions, we might just put it out there. Don't hesitate to chuck them in the comments.
What a week it's been.
What a week. I'm actually feeling quite exhausted and mentally drained, and I just can't wait to have a margarita tonight.
Yeah, I think I got to go get some margarita ingredients. And when the kids are in bed, I just, having to pivot my whole life. I was getting good at the work from home thing, but being a childcare centre as well has definitely changed my whole world. And I think, hey?
I was just going to say, this is the thing. So a lot of businesses now who were dealing with the working from home challenge and managing homeschooling are now also going to be dealing with working from home and having to look after kids. So it is going to be very difficult to navigate. We're going to be providing some better support around managing employees remotely, because one of the things that we're seeing a lot of at the moment is performance issues and mental health issues. So we've got some further content coming out around that stuff, because that's the hottest topic. It's quite hard to manage people that you can't see. We know that. Some people are taking the piss because it's quite easy to do it when you're sitting at home by yourself. So, yeah, it's fun times. Great time for you.
Well, if you can afford some level of flexibility, and cut people a little bit of slack during these times, if you can afford to, maybe offer them to be accessing some leave if you're able to, so that they can look after their kids, because I know, having 2 kids under 5, it's really challenging. Like, we're doing it in shifts, but there's no way I can be as productive as I was when they were at childcare. And I think a lot of businesses will have this, and so putting the pressure on now to say you're not performing just might be the straw that breaks them. And you do have kind of you've got a moral obligation, but you have a workplace obligation to make sure that they look after their health and safety if they're working from home, and that includes their psychological safety. So, I think that employers need to be mindful of the delicate situation that people are in, and try and offer as much support as they can. I know that some employers are starting to really ramp up that EAP, and also support around how people can work from home with kids in the background. My kids are currently doing cosmic yoga.
What's that?
Check it out on YouTube. It's really great. It keeps them entertained for about half an hour is their limit, but they have like Pokemon yoga.
I'm the quietest I've ever been, I must say.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, some great advice there. I think it is important to have some empathy around the situation, and the shift thing is a great idea. If you can get your employee to share the load with their partners, and do shifts, and get them to, or even go onto half pay, like do annual leave for half pay, or just something. Like, I just think we all just need to be as kind as we possibly can. It's my t-shirt today. Be kind. I'm not feeling very kind though. Not towards certain people, but anyway, I won't mention them here. But anyway, we might end on that. Thanks once again, Jessie, for being the resident guru around this stuff, because oh god, I'm so over relearning everything that I know about.
I'm trying, but there's so much information that's coming out that we're across it, it changes. And I think that's the other thing, like just try and get the right information. Most of the government websites are up to date after the announcements are made, but
Yeah.
but not always. So just give it a day or two, and feel free to reach out if we can be of any support at all to help you find some clarity in this, as Emily so eloquently puts it, shitstorm.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Jessie. We will see you all next week at the same time, 12:30. And once again, if you have any questions or topics that you would like us to cover, just shoot us an email or shoot us a Facebook message. Have a great week, guys, and stay.
Have a great weekend.